most of my videos lately have been about this Firebird, but today I'm going to be showing you what we're doing to the Mercedes-Benz. I've had this car about a year, and the first time the hydraulics messed up on it, I paid to get it fixed, and then 6 to 8 months later I'm getting another problem, and don't know if it was a leaking shock or if it's a broken line somewhere, but it was getting quoted about $5,000 to get it fixed. So made a couple phone calls, checked a bunch of feedback online, and found a company called Strutmasters, and they make a coilover kit that basically replaces all of your hydraulics and replaces them with these. So I ordered the kit and to have it shipped to my house here in Oklahoma. I believe it was $15.88. It took about a week, maybe even a little less than a week. It comes with everything. Yep, all 4 shocks, front and rear, and then I actually got plugs and caps, so you can plug off the hydraulic lines just to keep anything from spewing out. You can go one step further and actually replace the power steering pump. Which right now it's tandem, it's both power steering and hydraulic, but you can actually get, I believe it's from a W220, and replace that whole pump so that you won't have any fluid going through the car anymore at all, which I may do in the future, but for right now I'm going to leave it as it is. So the front, it's pretty simple. I will say that if you don't have a lift of some sort, if you're trying to do this with just floor jacks, you're going to have a little bit of a difficult time. The top of your shock is just like any normal shock. When you remove the old one, there's going to be 3 bolts up top, and you're going to disconnect the little pin connector. The bottom, however, is 1 bolt, and let's see if I can get it. Where are you at? There we go. So it's 1 bolt down here at the bottom of the control arm. And in order to get this, you've got to use like a tie rod disconnect tool. You're not going to get it from the side. The easiest way is to get this car up in the air enough so that you can swing a hammer and get your tie rod tool on there to pound this shock off. After that, the old one will come straight out. New one will go in. You mount your top 3 bolts. You put this one in, grease it up, and you're good to go. Okay, now for the rear, this is actually easier, although there's a lot more bolts to take off and arms. If you do everything like the instructions say, it's really simple. However, there is a bolt where the lower control arm, I'm sorry, not a bolt, but kind of where the lower control arm comes in. There's a sleeve, and if you don't pound that sleeve in, you won't get the lower control arm back in. I missed that part, and I was out here for at least 2 hours pulling and pressing and banging and cussing up a storm. Come to find out, I reread the instructions and said, oh, there's my problem. Took a 14mm socket and a long extension, pounded it in. So you're going to take off this arm here, and you're going to need a very big, I can't remember what size it is, but big Torx. Your lower control arm is going to disconnect right back in here. This bolt goes all the way through. You're going to take this arm right here off. You're going to take off it's like the height measurement, whatever, it's the little arm back here. Disconnect your hydraulic lines, and you're going to take the lower bolt off the brake. Not the whole, but you just want to be able to pull this out enough to get the bolt and stuff in. You're going to leave these top 2 arms on. When you do that, you'll be able to grab the brakes by the bottom, pull it out, and you'll be able to get the lower control arm out. I do still have to put the dust or the rock chip cover on here. I'm going to do that before I put the tire on. Make sure that when you're doing this, and I forgot to mention the front, there's a bleeder right here, which you've got to put the cap back on. You want to drain that, just to make sure there's no pressure in the shock. But those 2 shocks, which are $2,500 a piece, brand new. The back ones were fine, so I'm going to probably sell them to help recoup some of the money. But these new ones are in place. This is actually very simple. Once the arm comes down, there's a large bolt holding it on right in there. It'll slide right out. Put the new one in. 2 bolts tag it back up top, and I'll kind of show you in the trunk here. I haven't put everything back together in the trunk. So the carpet will pull aside. I've got the whole, like the cover removed. I've got to put it back in, but your bolts are going to be right down in here. The carpet is very, very stiff. It's very difficult to work with, but it's not terribly hard. There we go. Once you get all that done, this is actually, I would say probably, if you're a decent mechanic, if you know what you're doing with wrenches, probably maybe 2 to 3 hours with just using like a jack. If you had a lift, you can knock some time out of there. But all in all, not hard. It's just a lot of wrenching. You do also want to loosen the bolt back here on the lower control arm, and then you want to retighten it when you're done. So all in all, it's not a bad job. Let's get this thing finished, put back together, get it on the road, and actually see how it does. So far, so good. You got a couple little creaks, which I'm sure go away after it settles completely. But I would say first drive, it's not as smooth, you know, as the stock suspension, but this is really not bad at all. So on the first drive, not bad at all. I know it's going to settle a little bit more, but it actually sits pretty good. The wheel gap on the front's not bad at all. I mean, even if it settles a little bit more, that's going to be a nice. I'd say it probably sits about as low as the lowest setting on the ABC. So for less than half the price of what it would have been to fix it, she sits well, no ABC light, And since these are coilovers, this will not happen again, at least for this part. I'm very happy with this.